Welcome back to our Simple Healthy Life podcast, where our goal is to have real, insightful conversations with people we find interesting. And we found this guy so interesting last time, and we asked him to come back. Dylan Kaplinger, second time on the podcast. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So I'll just give a quick recap before. Dylan's was in an accident. We had kind of wanted to talk to you a little about that accident that you were in before. And what we found was not just that you were somebody that was able to come back from something that most people will never have to deal with, but your thoughts and theories and philosophies and the way that you're living your life really resonated with not just me and Ryan, but also our audience. I personally think you're an interesting dude. As some of the audience knows, I'm training for my first triathlon. Dylan just did one, so we'll talk a little bit about that. And then when I asked him this morning if there was something he wanted to talk about, the topic he found interesting was something that Ryan and I have been really kind of going back and forth about. In fact, Ryan recently wrote a Reddit? No, Substack. I'm sorry. A Substack article. He sends them directly to me, so I don't know where he posts them, but thank you. Which was incredible, by the way. Probably your best one, in my opinion. Not that we're ranking such things, but if I was, it was the best one. And it's a topic that I have been teaching and training on. So I will let Dylan kind of talk a little bit about the topic first, and then we'll all go around and talk about it. But first, because my triathlon's coming up in 9 days, let's talk a little bit about your experience.
My experience was everything went wrong. I'll put it like that, actually.
No
So
way.
You train for a lot of things to happen, proper fueling, tired legs, all that. So I woke up 4:30 in the morning. The swim gets canceled. The water's like an untoxic or too toxic level to deem it safe for everyone to swim. So you just start initially with a rolling start on the bike. And I train fueled, you have your carbs, your electrolytes, your waters. Less than a mile in, they all fell off my bike.
No way.
So the only aid stations are like mile 12, 22, and like 30 or something. And that's where you refuel. So I had no waters, no carbs, no electrolytes for the whole 56 miles, which resulted in, obviously I had never trained like that. So the cramping was terrible. So I didn't finish in the right time I wanted, but it challenged me. In retrospect, I can actually say I'm really glad it happened because my mindset went from like trying to get sub 6 hours, get this certain goal, like time was the thing, to I knew I wasn't going to get that. As soon as the waters fell, I was like, this is going to be a long day. And that changed my mindset to just like get through it. I signed up for the challenge while I was still in a neck collar, wanting to test myself. And I was like, well, everything's in line now to really test yourself. You're going to be cramping more than you ever have. This is going to suck. I ended up not really being able to bend my knees to run. So I ran it like 2.5 hours, the half marathon, which I've done an hour and 40 before. So I knew this is going to be a bad day, but it tested me and I'm glad I was able to do it. And, if I could go back and change, maybe I'd like to say those waters would have helped if they stayed on the bike, but I got what I wanted out of it.
So, man, my stupid question would be, why didn't you stop and get the water?
So I did. I stopped, got the waters, but the saddle on the back, one of the things just fell off. So it was like, if you put it back in, it's going to fall off again. So I stopped the first mile, put them back in. Maybe 50 feet later, they all fell out, and I was like, there's no going back. You just gotta play the game.
Wow. Wow. Imagine that first thought, like, oh no.
It was like, oh.
So early,
okay.
too, a mile in. Jeez,
yeah, a mile in,
awful.
hit a bump, and then good night.
Wow. One screw, one thing changes it all just to start. So, and how long did it end up taking in total?
6 hours, 40 minutes. So,
no water.
And not even including the swim. So if I even did the swim and the same thing happened, it probably would have been almost 2 hours past my goal time. But, like I said, I'm actually really glad it happened because it really was like, for that 6 hours, it was me versus me. And it was like exactly what I wanted. It was like I couldn't ask for a better challenge. So I don't really care about the time. I'll eventually get back into it and I'll get my vengeance. But it was a cool little challenge for me.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So you had a plan, and the plan just
The
didn't,
plan
didn't
did
work.
not go through. That's a good testament to life, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh, heck yeah. And for me, I'm gonna check my stuff
Yeah.
before I get
Ride over some
started.
bumps. Make sure the water doesn't fall off.
Wow. So what else have you been up to since last time we talked? Your healing is still continuing.
Continuing to heal, continuing to train. I have a high rocks, my first ever high rocks, October 8th. So that's about 10 weeks out. And I just wanted to try something different. It's like we were saying before you started, like you kind of process of elimination, see what you like, and you're not going to see what you like until you try everything. So I'm just trying the high rocks, trying the Ironman. I didn't really like the Ironman, to be completely honest. I didn't enjoy the training. Could probably talk about it a little later. I felt like it was more a chore towards the end. But yeah, trying the high rocks, seeing if I like that. I know I like lifting and running, so that's probably going to be my something I can fall back on. But I want to try more. So
Nice. Yeah. Continue.
Wow, incredible. How? Yeah, remind me, Ironman. What is the distances there?
so it's a 1.2 mile swim, which I trained for. The whole 6 month training to try to do, which was probably actually one of my stronger things towards the end.
How long does that take? Like, what's the
My goal time was 35 to 40 minutes.
35 minutes of straight up swimming. That's
And I felt like I could have done that. So I was honestly discouraged when I found out it got canceled. I had the wetsuit draped over my shoulder, and some guy, I thought he was just trying to, break the ice, was like, swim got canceled. Start laughing, because I think he's just busting my balls. But, yeah, it got canceled. And I was a little like, all right, it's already a weird race start, but it is for everyone.
That was like, and then they had the sewage kind of outbreak or whatever
yeah.
it was. Right?
Mhm.
That sucks.
And then, 56-mile bike, and then finished with a half marathon. So 13.1 run.
So technically, that's a half Ironman, right?
Yeah, it's a half Ironman. It's not even the big boys. So
Yeah, the big boy's a marathon at the end. Just 200 miles swim, 200-mile bike, 212, something like that.
yeah, 112. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
12.
the other one's 212, right? The big one is 212 or something.
Is there a bigger one than the Ironman?
Oh, 112 and
112
then
and then
the full
yeah.
marathon. Yeah.
Just double the distances for everything. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
A lot of respect for triathletes. That was crazy.
Wow. Okay. So you were training for that. You said you didn't really like it though.
No, the first few months it was me. It was something new. So I sucked at swimming, was comfortable running and comfortable on the bike, but it was like, just all right. You got to get through the phase where you're not good at it, and if you do it enough, you'll be good at it. If I do this for 6 months, I'll be competent enough to swim, right? And then it just became part of me so much training. I was working a lot as well, and I didn't get to lift, and that's something I feel like I need. I enjoy that stuff, and towards the end, it was like maybe one lift a week just to prevent injury. So it was more just doing chores that I didn't like doing. So it kind of was like harder to get up out of bed for the early swim, harder to do the runs, harder to sit on the bike for like 4 hours at a time. It just became something I didn't really enjoy. But I knew for the goal, I knew my reason going into it, and I wasn't going to quit. I already told too many people I'm going to do this thing. You can't be that guy. So it was a good test, but not for me in this chapter of life.
Yeah. Well, isn't that a good way to know, right? To do the thing and
Exactly.
to know, right? And to get competent at it. I think you bring up a good point. Like you kind of have to be good at something, relatively good, or progressed in any particular fashion to say you don't like it.
Right.
How many people like try something for the first time and they try drawing and say, well, this is awful. I hate drawing. Well, that's not a fair assessment.
Yoga. That's my favorite one. You talk to someone. I hate yoga. Oh, do you do yoga? No. Have you done yoga? No, it's stupid. Okay. I don't have anything else to talk about then. It's almost like if someone's relatively competent in something, they're like, I really don't like it, you can actually be like, oh, let's talk about it. Like, tell me your experience. And but when someone's just like, no, yoga's stupid. I'm like, well, cool. Well, I guess I'll catch you later. No reason to talk then. You shut it down.
Yeah. We were talking about how you're doing Muay Thai, and my experience with Muay Thai was, I liked a lot about it actually. Muay Thai and boxing, I liked a lot. I liked the technique. I liked the way that you kind of maneuvered with another human in like a combat kind of way. I liked the fact that it felt like strategic, but I just didn't like getting hit in the face. I didn't like checking kicks. I didn't like the dynamics of sparring where people couldn't keep their ego in check. And I don't know if I think that's a thing everywhere, but
Definitely.
but nonetheless, even if it weren't a thing, I just I knew what I liked from it, and then I switched over to jiu-jitsu and got all the things I liked. Plus, I didn't have to deal with getting hit in the face, and that was kind of nice.
Yeah, for sure. But you put in enough time to know those things, know what
Yeah.
you did, know what you didn't like. Same with you. You now know you're not a big fan of like that type of training.
Right.
A little bit of biking here, a little bit of bike running there. You know, for you, a little bit of kicking and punching. You know, not bad, but a lot of it, nah. For me, I'm still at the point where I know that I got a lot to learn.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm enjoying the learning process, not the getting punched in the face part or the checking the kicks part. In fact, my arm is killing me currently just because I'm too slow at checking kicks. I keep checking it with the outside of my arm, which is really difficult.
Yeah, not great.
Which really means I'm actually that slow that I just kind of lean into it, unfortunately for me. So that kind of brings us to this topic that I know you are interested in talking about, and it's something that we are very passionate about. And it's almost counterintuitive because we're going to sit here for the next probably 30 minutes and talk about this topic that proves the thing we already know. Until you take action on something, you're just kind of spinning your wheels. And I think we're all going to give us different examples and different ways to communicate around it. And I hope that the audience hears this and something clicks, some topic, some word, something happens where they say to themselves, okay, today's the day I'm taking action. Not tomorrow or the next day. I'm not going to just write about it or think about it or read about it or do the things. So Dylan, kind of start us off. Tell us a little bit about what you wanted to bring to the table today.
So my idea, and this is something I actually wrote about in a newsletter as well, which I might have actually started since the last time
Oh, yeah.
I've been with you guys.
Can you get us on that?
Yeah, 100%. And it was I will not let my lack of knowledge prevent me from doing something. And I just thought back to anybody that's ever been successful at anything once didn't know what they were doing. You know, so how are you going to let, and especially with the sources we have now, whether it's AI or just, talking to a friend, you know, you can ask questions, you can get answers, and your lack of knowledge shouldn't be something that prohibits you from doing something that you want to do. So
Nice.
Yeah, that's the big problem is that we have information, knowledge for everything. You can look up literally, and you can ask AI any question and get a reasonable solution. You know, an information-based solution to that, right? And it is a big distraction, and it's going to be an even bigger distraction, especially as AI gets smarter, right? It's going to tell us exactly what we want to hear. But it's not going to solve our problems of action, right? We have all the information in the world. We have more information than ever before, and we perceive our problems of inaction to be one of a knowledge deficit still, right? I still have to find out the right information, the right plan. How many times? I mean, we're all in the clientele business, I suppose, industry. How many times do people come up and they're just like, "Give me the best plan"? I don't even do it anymore. I've been doing this for over 10 years. I don't do plans anymore because they don't work. You know, they work for like a week, 2 weeks. I just want to be. I was talking with Alicia yesterday, and I said, "Yeah, what am I going to tell them? Like, I'm going to spend time making this like plan that is in theory great, but then you're going to quit it in like just a couple months, or you're going to get so obsessed with a plan that it's going to be constraining for you. You're not going to learn the skills, right? So it's a lose-lose."
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't agree more. I think in today's day and age, what we're really after is somebody to, and I'll say somebody, some way, some form, something that will be intentional enough, demanding enough, purposeful enough to get us to take action on something, right? All three of us are intentionally growing in different directions, and we're doing that on purpose. And everybody listening to this is saying to themselves, well, I want to grow. I have something in my life that I want to add to my life. I want to do something more with my life. I want to change my career. I want to be a better parent. I want to do all these things. But we don't. And I think what you're saying is like a lot of people will immediately go to, I would if I had more knowledge. And then what Ryan's saying is, actually, you can have the knowledge in about 11 seconds if you figure out how to prompt your AI bot. And what I'm saying is, okay, so now what? Now what do we do? You get the knowledge. You're like, I want to be a better triathlete. So you look up and you use your chat bot and you prompt it and you spend 5 minutes talking to it and you're like, oh, now I know what to do. I need to swim on this day. I need to bike on this day. I need to run on this day. Eventually, before I get to the end of it, I need to make sure that I have my X, my Y, and my Z. But if you didn't actually do that and show up, you wouldn't know that you got to check your bike for mistakes, right? You got to do these things in order to know, in order to gain the actual knowledge that's important. So what is it that's keeping us from this? This is the question I want to answer. Individually, collectively, as an audience, as a group, like what is it that keeps you from doing the things that you know are important to you? And when I say that you know are important to you, I want the audience to specifically think about something right now that's important to them that they're not doing. And what is it? And I don't profess to have the answer, so I'll ask two very smart people sitting next to me.
Well, and then it's also the fact that it's like you brought up, I don't have the right shoes yet, or my bike's not perfectly aerodynamic, so I'm not going to start. Or, I need the perfect plan that aligns with my schedule and all these things. It has to be perfect. Nobody starts the plan until it's perfect, and it doesn't have to be. It's like what we said before. It's like fire first and then aim. Focus on what you need to correct, but do it first because you need to take action first.
Yeah, I've been thinking. I'm glad to be talking about this because I've been thinking about this as a potential solution too. I talked about in that essay, whatever you want to call it, that there is an aspect of ourself that we just don't know. Right? There's an aspect of ourself that we don't trust, and our kind of like the knowledge deficit we presume we have, the searching for knowledge, the searching for information is really just avoiding the learning about ourselves, right? I've said it before, but we want to feel confident, not courageous, right? We want to feel like I'm going to go into this new situation, I'm going to go to this class, or I'm going to go into this, I'm going to approach this, potential mate or whatever it is. And I'm gonna feel confident. I'm gonna feel like I have all the answers. I know exactly where it can go wrong. I know how it, how it could succeed. And I'm gonna do it, and I'll feel good about it. That's very alluring to us because we do have areas in which we feel confident, right? Like if I go into the mats, any mat, any mats in the, I don't know, probably not any mats in the world, but these little local gyms, I know exactly what I'm going to run into, right? I've been doing it for 10 years, many, many hours a week. I know exactly what kind of, jiu-jitsu situations I'm going to get into. Put me in the water and tell me to swim a mile, I have no clue. I don't know if I could do it. In fact, last time I went on like a tropical vacation, I did some snorkeling and they're like, you can wear a life jacket. And I'm like, or a life vest or whatever. And I'm like, I don't need that. Oh my God, what a disaster. I was drowning out there. Yeah,
so much more comfortable.
Yeah. And that was false confidence, right?
Yeah.
And so, but nonetheless, yeah, we need to learn about ourselves. We need to learn about how we handle situations. And Dylan, I think your experience with water bottle, electrolytes, whatever, coming off the bike, that was great because that was you facing a situation you weren't confident for, and you handled it very well.
Yeah, let's talk about this difference between confidence and courage.
Yeah.
Right. So I define courage as the ability to push through resistance. And actually look this up. I know it's the thing that people need to understand is that it's your own individual resistance, right? I have resistance around certain things that you might be like, that's stupid. Like, I don't know why you're afraid to do that. Like, I do that all the time. That's dumb. I'll give you an example. And this is just an interesting one that's come up in my world a few different times from talking to a few different people. They're not happy with their job. So I say to them, well, put your resume out there. And they're like, whoa, well, but my job offers me X, Y, and Z. I'm like, but you said you're not happy. So just put your resume out there. Who knows? Maybe no one will call you. Maybe or maybe they will call you. And they're like, and it's like, for me, that's an easy one. That's like, you have to put a resume together anyways. I probably already have one. Just put it on the website that says resume.com, whatever, Indeed or whatever you do. I don't have any resistance around that. Maybe I'll get resistance later around making the change or having the interview or answering whatever. But some people, even though they know that they're not happy, will refuse to even put their resume together to go look. That's a big resistance point. But for me, it's nothing, right? So do you have a resistance point in your life right now that maybe is only unique to you or unique to a certain group of you?
It's a good question. I think for most people it would be any sort of change. You're going to feel resistance. Chris Williamson, who's one of my favorite podcast guys, I forget how he coined the term, but it's similar to your job description where it's like, you're comfortable enough in the position that you're in, but you're also not unhappy enough to change. And you're like in this kind of gray zone where it's like, it's not what it could be. It's not as good as it should be, but it's not as bad to where I have to change it. And you're just living in that zone, and people go 15, 20 years, a whole career with the same partner, with the same job, just in a situation that they don't truly enjoy, and they're afraid to just make that first step. But I'm going to I'll ponder on that if Ryan wants to answer that, if I have any unique ones.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think you're exactly right though. Change is the thing that we fear the most. And, Carl Jung has that quote, "Woe betide those who live by way of an example." And what he's saying is that, we constantly try to follow in other people's footsteps, and to change and to kind of go out on a limb and to lead ourselves, right? To take a step that is courageous is terrifying. I mean, you're lying if you say that, like, to be courageous isn't terrifying. You have a lot of responsibility. And, one of the things about true knowledge is that it forces us to be responsible or procrastinate and distract from that, right? If you know that you should eat well and take care of yourself, and you don't do it, then that reveals something. It reveals something about you, like either like you have a resistance, or you're not making time, or you're not prioritizing something that is really important. And we feel that in some way, and how that presents in our body and our minds and emotionally. I mean, I think everyone can experience that situation a little differently, but yeah, I think we're afraid to have ourselves revealed, right? That we might not be that courageous, that we might not be that brave, that we might not be that responsible, that maybe we're a little lazy. Maybe our value system is a little kind of messed up. It's more geared to, like, I don't know, like leisure and pleasure and sex and money, right? And that's a dangerous revelation.
Yeah, because it's the revelation that comes to you.
Yep.
From the outside looking in, no, there is no outside looking in, really. You see the version of you. I see the version of Dylan that Dylan wants me to see, right? I love it. It's awesome, right? But I see the version of you that you want me to see. But I don't know. I don't know that internally you didn't take the trash out. You didn't mow the lawn. You didn't deal with your customers. You didn't do the follow-ups. You didn't do the things that like, are important to you.
Mm.
Eventually I will, though. This is one of the points that I'm trying to get at. Eventually I will, because when you start to push this resistance, when you start to allow this resistance to win, right? You don't get up. You don't do the thing. You just don't. And then you go to work and you don't do that thing. And then you come home and you don't do the thing. And you just keep letting the resistance win, letting the resistance win. It's almost like it's weighing on you enough that it'll start to change your behavior. And now your behavior is changing. And now I'm like, oh man, I don't know what's up with Ryan for a little while. And then eventually I'm like, man, Ryan's kind of a jerk for a little while. And then eventually I'm like, I don't really want to be around Ryan anymore because he's kind of doing other things enough, right? But what has actually happened is Ryan has enough knowledge about all the things he hasn't done to feel responsible to do those things, but isn't courageous enough to do them. So they're just weighing on him and weighing on him and weighing on him. And now his external behavior, his words, his everything has changed in such a way that I don't really want to be around Ryan anymore. And I think we've all lived through this.
That's a great example, and that in many different ways is what we live with a lot of the time. We live with a lot of little examples like that, and we cope with that through escaping. Right? We escape that because there aren't answers to that, and that's what you brought up, Dylan, is that you can't have enough knowledge not enough knowledge in the world. It's all there, but like it's just not dynamic. You can't actually understand yourself through external means. It's not possible. So yeah, what you notice in me as I like kind of dwindle from that like heavy burden of self-knowledge is that yeah, I start to avoid interactions. I start to escape. I start to live less. We're so good at know thy enemy, right? We're very good at that. We can like YouTube any problem, YouTube anything, AI chat it, but we're so inept at knowing ourselves. And I think you need both. Know thy enemy, know thyself.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll just give the example because I was telling you guys earlier, and I'll give like a real world example. As the audience knows, I've been developing this concept called CRAVE for quite some time, and I've lived it. Courage, resilience, awareness, visualization, and execution, right? 5 skills that help you ultimately show up when moments really matter, right? They're all aimed at doing one thing. They're aimed at helping you take action on your life. Now, it's nice that Dylan wanted to talk about it, and I love that you love the topic, and it just so happens that we're all doing it. So here's the story I want to tell. We go through the first week of CRAVE training with my trusted advisor group. And it's an hour-long training on the etymology of courage and what it is and how to look at it, where to find resistance in your body, something that most people have actually overlooked. Some of the feedback I got is, oh my God, I didn't realize that resistance is, in my chest sometimes. How to address it, and then for 1 week, you have 7 opportunities to read your why, go through your training, and then write down where you feel your resistance and something you feel resistance about. At the end of the week, we close the chapter on courage, and we move on to resilience. Because this is my own trusted advisor group, I asked them, and normally I don't think I would, but I asked them, hey, how'd it go? And the feedback I got was, oh, man, I only did it 2 days out of the 7. And then I was like, did anybody do more? And someone was like, I did it 3. I was like, did anybody do less? And they're like, I did it 1. Somewhere between 1 and 4 was the number. And some feedback I got. Now, picture this, right? All you have to do is take this book, open it up, write about the resistance you feel around any topic you want. As easy a topic as I use the example of mowing the lawn. Right? I feel resistance around mowing the lawn. I don't like doing it. If someone else could do it for me, I would be thrilled. But guess what? Every time I put my driveway, the lawn is growing. And I'm like, oh, maybe tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. So you don't have to do anything else other than just take it, look at it, write it down. Some people even said the book felt heavy after a couple of days. One person said, I brought it to bed. I sat in my bed with me. I looked at it, and I couldn't even bring myself to just write about it. I mean, think about that. What we've uncovered is that identifying resistance within yourself is actually not that hard. Taking even one step, one action, the simplest action of writing and transitioning the words that say, I am feeling resistance around X and I don't like it, is almost impossible for people. And I think it goes to what Ryan's point is, because now it uncovers something. This facade that we put on, right? This skill of avoidance that we have been so great at.
So good.
And what do we do when we find that out? We go, oh, I just won't do that anymore. Okay, cool. I actually was like, grateful that the people that are in this group are like, I'm like, you can't quit, right? Now it's not about you. Now it's about me. You got to stay with me. You got to go through the next 5 weeks because it will get easier and we can do those things. But I mean, think about that for a second. In the audience out there, like, think about it for yourself. Would you be willing to spend 7 days once a day for 10 minutes, set your timer, sit down and say, I'm feeling resistance around something and I'm going to write about it and take one action towards it? They didn't even get to the point where they're taking action upon it. They're just still not even writing about it. And that's reality. It uncovered something for me. I knew that this would happen because I know that I'm the person that has these challenges. I didn't realize that everybody had these challenges like this. So I'd love to hear your perspectives on it, your opinions on it.
Yeah, I have a similar process I go through. I think it's by Oliver Berkman, who wrote 4,000 Weeks. He calls it a resistance list. So it's like write down the things that you're resisting. And then next to it, write down what each one of these things that you're resisting, how it negatively impacts. So like your example of the lawn. Well, I don't want to mow the lawn. And it's like, well, my yard looks like shit. You know, I can't take care of my home. It's all these things, all the negative consequences associated with the task that you're not willing to do. And then you're like, all right, well, I have to do it now. Like, this is all the negative ways it's affecting me. The same thing, it's a little bit more in depth with like business and stuff, like not starting your business. Well, you might get a job that you don't enjoy and all that stuff. And you can keep going down the line. But I think when you can write out all the negative ways that resistance is affecting your life, and you actually realize, wow, I keep putting this off and it keeps negatively impacting who I want to become, it's a lot easier to get it done once you realize the consequences associated with it. But
think it's easier to write down the negative stuff than it is the positive stuff?
The positives of doing an action you're resistant to. You mean?
Yeah. You think it'd be easier? So if I was like, hey,
That's a good
okay, here's
question.
the resistance. I want you to write down all the ways that you, not that you are avoiding it, but like you said, like all the things that aren't happening because you're avoiding it. Or, hey, here, I want you to write down the resistance, and then I want you to write down all the things that you think you're going to get out of it for pushing through.
I think that gives you some dopamine, though.
Does it?
I heard somebody explain dopamine. I'm definitely going to butcher it, but it's like, it's the idea of doing the thing gives you that dopamine. And it's like, so if I write down all the positive things about it, it's still not doing it. It's giving me the dopamine as if I know, oh, this is what I'll get from doing it. But until I do it, it's nothing. I feel like sometimes the negative can be more powerful in order for you to like get up off your butt to do something. At least personally for me, if there's a negative consequences, I'm probably more likely to do something than if it was like, but you could get rich off this. You know, you could buy a brand new boat off this. You know what I mean? Versus like, well, you could be miserable the rest of your life if you go down this path. To me, that wakes me up more than the positive, but I guess it's person to person.
Oh, I don't know. I think you nailed it. I mean, think about it, right? The example I gave about the job. Well, I want a new job. Well, because I want a better quality of life, and I want more money, and I want more home time, and I want all these things. And I know that I see all the people out there, to your point about like emulating and seeing all these other things. I see other people out there that are doing it. Right? Yeah. Well, okay. But hey, honey, I'm leaving you, babe. You're out. I can't be with a person that just won't take the step, that won't make the move, that won't do for themselves. I mean, I don't think my wife would leave me if I didn't mow the lawn, but she'd be like, listen, like, mow the lawn. I'm not having my house look like crap, and you're responsible for the outside, right? It's the negative that a lot of times will drive us. I mean, really drive you. That positive is like, and the mow the lawn one's silly, simple and stupid, but like, no, I don't really care. Truly. Like, if the lawn's this big or this big, doesn't matter to me. It matters to the wife. And I got a weed whack. It's an extra thing I don't really like to do. All of it. The negative is definitely a driver for me in so many ways.
I think it's a driver for pretty much everyone, right? Like fear and anxiety drives a lot of people in general, right? We would call that like the anti-vision. You know, if you're at a job and you're hoping to switch, what's the anti-vision? What don't you want to happen in your life? Well, I don't want to sit in this 9 to 5 that I hate for the rest of my life and just like continuously regret it, and yeah, I mean, that's pretty compelling. We do have that like negativity bias, so our brain loves the negative kind. It's more stimulating, literally more stimulating, and that's a hard thing to navigate. And what happens when people are faced with action or inaction, and then the revelation of self that comes from that is they end up rejecting themselves, right? Ooh, I found out that I'm not that hard of a worker. So I'm going to reject myself. And you know what? I'm going to reject it. I'm going to reject it so hard that I'm going to do all these other things to to move away from that, right? I'm going to move away from myself. I'm going to reject myself so hard that I maybe will accept myself, right, later on, right? We see this in, like health all the time. I hate my body. I'm going to reject it so hard. I'm going to do everything that I just haven't done. I haven't been eating well, so I'm going to eat well. I haven't been moving well, so I'm going to move well. Whatever it is, I'm going to just reject it all, and I'm going to hate my body so bad. Then eventually, I'll get to the place where I accept my body. Does this work?
Doesn't work like that.
Does this work?
I've definitely been guilty, and a lot of times am guilty of running away from a future I don't want more than running towards the future I want. Like, I know a lot of my behavior is me intentionally running away from this future that I don't want. This insecure, unknown, like financially unstable. This is the future I know I don't want. But I'm not running intentionally towards a secure, financially stable future. I'm intentionally running away, not towards.
And that can be compelling. I mean, I think there's a difference between rejecting external circumstances and rejecting potential external circumstances, rejecting my poor financial, future, and running to something a little bit more, substantial. But there is that like rejection of self that sometimes presents, and that doesn't work,
Yeah.
right? I can get behind a good, strong anti-vision. I think that's really powerful, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just can't get behind self-rejection. I don't think that you can run away from yourself and find yourself. Like you're running away from yourself in hopes to find yourself. You left yourself behind.
Mhm.
Yeah. What would you do what do you do when you find out, like, you don't have to give me an example, but what do you do when you find out that deep in here, an aspect of you is not what you want it to be?
I actually had a similar situation. I won't get into too much of the details, but I just started reading Ego and Archetype. It's like a philosophy of Carl Jung by Edward Edinger, I think.
It's crazy that book is in my Amazon cart.
That's I'm only like 15 pages. I'm an amateur in this topic, but very hard read, at least for myself. I don't have a good background in that. And they talk about the separation. There's like 4 stages from birth until death of your ego and yourself, and how it's connected. And then slowly you start to realize the beliefs about yourself, and maybe I'm not who I say I am. Just like you said, I present myself how I want you guys to see me, but that's not really maybe who I am. And I don't know where I'm really going with this, but something happened where I thought a certain outcome would happen, and it didn't. And it really made me question, like, wow, I wonder what other people think of me. And maybe I'm overthinking this topic, but am I not really the discipline, the guy I say I am? Is this me just overthinking it entirely, and they just made their decision off a whim, or am I not who I think I am? And it was for a moment where I'm like, what's going on? Like, you really start to keep diving into the topic and really try to figure out the truth. But yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting topic. I'm hoping to gain some stuff from this book, but it's a difficult read.
Important. It's an important topic. Yeah. Like, so the self is this, I'm not like super well versed in the definitions, but the self is the thing that is within us all that is most true, most honest, right? It's the thing that doesn't really get hurt from another's comment, right? It's the thing most pure. The ego is more closely the associated with like identity, right? I am this person. This is who I am. You know, I'm a person who does, you know, fitness training. I'm a dietitian. I'm a coach, you know, whatever it is. And yeah, our whole existence is dealing with the fact that like our ego just gets in the way. And that's, we were talking about earlier on the earlier podcast, MJ, about, you know, when you start looking a little bit more into, you start getting deeper, you get into like, yeah, like deeper psychology does talk a lot about the ego. And then spirituality talks a lot about the ego. And then you start to like practice these things and recognize, ooh, that little pesky ego is getting into everything, right? It's like who I think I am gets involved and enmeshed into every little thing. And I need to get away from that. Like the only way to really, truly, truly grow is by like totally like subverting that. But that's hard.
Yeah, it is. It's hard. And it's hard because at the very tiniest child, we're being told who we are.
Mm-hmm.
You're a good boy. You're this. You're that. Oh, you're a fifth grader now. Oh, you like math. Oh, you're good at math. You're this. You're that. You're this.
You're smart. You're
smart.
Disciplined. You're this. You're that.
You're a great athlete. You're a good teammate. You're a all these things we want to be, of course. But then we go, oh, that's who I am. Oh, and then we layer it, and then we layer it, and then we layer it, and then we find ourselves saying, oh, I'm a now I got a job. What's the very first thing people ask you when they, hey, how are you, Dylan? What you do? Oh, what do you do? Right? You start with I'm a personal trainer. I'm a this, right? So then we add all these layers on. And there's nothing wrong with any of this.
No.
With the exception of you individually want more. You individually want to take action on something that somehow this pesky feeling inside you is like, I just want to be better about this, or I want that. And then in order to intentionally go back and look at all that, you got to like go through all of these layers and be like, oh, maybe I'm not this. Maybe, oh, that wasn't the outcome I got. Identify, maybe I'm not this. Maybe I'm not as far along as I thought I was. Maybe I'm not as good at this as I thought I was. Maybe this, maybe that. The first feedback I got was from this training that I'm doing is like, my passion for the topic didn't come through. And I was like, whoa. To your point, like I had to decide like, oh, is that somebody else's opinion or is that me? Like, I mean, let's face it, I'm pretty passionate on this topic, but it didn't come through that day. So I had to look back and say, oh, wow, well, hold on. What is it about my delivery, my approach, the information that caused it to come across as me not being passionate about this topic? Probably sound passionate right now, but I had to find it and look back and internalize it, individualize it. And it's a process that I'm totally fine doing on this topic. But if I have to go on a different topic, I'm not even going to pretend to give the audience another one, but we all have them. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm not willing to. Maybe I'm not willing to find out, like you said, that actually I'm not as a hard worker as I thought. I think I am, and I'm comparing myself to others, and maybe I'm not actually, because what do I do then? Work harder? That sounds like less fun. I don't want to do that.
Right. And that's like an objective. We're not necessarily, I say like noticing those things about yourself. It's more so noticing about how you've been acting, right? I think I'm a hard worker, but I've been acting really lazy lately, right? And that's, if you could approach that objectively, right? Like harsh truth objectively. I mean, you've found the secret, right? And that's I don't know if we're totally capable of that. We can certainly have a healthier functioning ego. Ego is, definitely necessary. You can't interact with people without it, right? But yeah, I mean, it's tough. And so, even like the simple situation is like, I know I should run or go to the gym or whatever it is. I just can't bring myself to do it. That is revealing something in your constant planning and your constant searching and asking people for what to do. That you're fearful. You're fearful of something. And it's interesting because when you actually start talking about it, like a lot of people, yeah, I mean, people are pretty good when prompted. What are you fearful of? Well, I'm fearful of judgment. Why? Because that means this. And then, and then, I think it's activating to me because so and so when I was younger, like used to make fun of me or whatever, right? And that really hurt, right? And so, like, part of your inaction is your protection of yourself, protection of like who you think you are, right? And that's the big struggle, is figuring that stuff out.
That's a great line, man. It really makes sense. Part of your inaction is a protection of yourself. It's a protection of who you think you are.
Mhm.
Yeah, the truth could be scary. You don't want to find out the truth, you know?
Yeah.
But I think it's necessary. Like you have to get on the other side of that because that's where all the growth is. Truly figuring out who you are, and then maybe, all right, well now I think I know who I am. How can I change this if I don't like it? You know, versus just, well, I'm afraid to really find out, so I'm not going to do anything. You know,
Yeah.
I'm just not going to do anything.
Just not going to do it.
Yeah.
A silly one for me, but back to the triathlon thing. I guarantee you, and in fact, I'm very sure of it. So if I've said this before, I'm sorry. I would have said I could do a triathlon before I trained for one, before I even signed up for one, before I started it. I would have been like, nah, I could do that. Well, I got in the pond for the first time and was like, you said it was going to take you 37 minutes to swim 1.2.
Roughly.
It took me 37 to swim 0.3.
Oh my.
0.3. And like when I was done, I was like, whew. I'm like, how far was that? And my watch was like, I was 0.3. Like it was like
Wow.
doggy paddle and like breaststroke and lay on my back for a little while. And like, I'm not even sure they would probably have like wrap me up. I mean, like, all right, dude, you can't do it. But I would have said, no problem. I can do a triathlon. But luckily, this isn't an area where I felt that deeply resistant to it. And I wanted to grow and I wanted to try it. So I'm like, all right, now I'm in the training for doing a triathlon. What I found out by doing the training for a triathlon is pretty quickly, I found out, wow, actually, you really aren't a great swimmer. You're alive. You can not drown, but you're not a great swimmer. So that's fine by me. It was not this deep, difficult revelation. But there's so many out there, right? There's so many things where fear of finding out that I'm not as good as I said I was will hold me back. And I think there's so many out there for all of us where you find out that you're not as good as you said you were to yourself. I mean, one thing to tell your significant other, I'm the best at Muay Thai, right? You get out there and the dude kicks you in the shin and you quit. Didn't happen yet, but close, right? But that's the stuff, right? To yourself. And I want to change the topic now just a little bit to, what if we thought of everything that we do as a practice or a skill building exercise? You said at the beginning something along the lines of like, you have to start by being bad at it. What if you told yourself deeply, like, I'm okay with starting this process knowing I'm not as good as I thought I was? Does that help at all? Does that help you take action?
I think so. I think perspective is everything. So if you change that into, it's like if I do something once, I'm not going to be good. By rep 10,000, I'll be pretty good at it. So I think if you tell yourself and you have that approach that I am a beginner, I don't have high expectations of myself at this moment, but I know I can be. And I think that would help.
It would help.
Yeah.
I use the example of you sometimes when I'm talking about this topic because you love to play the guitar, right, and the bass. And I can't even get my fingers to like move, even to like, I can't even reach whatever the top, I don't even know what the top one is, but like, I'm like, I don't think I would ever be able to. And then I'm like, I just have small hands. Right? I'm like, I don't think that's accurate. But like, why can't I do the thing at all? Not even like to the tune of be able to like strum the guitar and do the movement. Well, ultimately, it's because I've never done it.
Yeah. We're so quick to like judge ourselves. And yeah, I think that's what we do. When we go and try an action or we're not acting for that matter, we're so quick to judge, right? We're so quick to make a judgment call on who we think we are, right? I want to keep that up to date. I have actually a great story about this. I hope she doesn't mind me sharing. But this is last night. Alicia and I are, we play a little music together. She's like learning piano, and I've been playing instruments for my whole life. So, I'm not like, I know enough, right, about music, and I know a good bit about like connecting to an instrument, right? So, nonetheless, so we're starting to play, and she always kind of like, not always, but she kind of gets a little like, she freezes up a little bit when we're like playing because she doesn't want to like make a mistake. So she has this like part of herself that kind of gets activated and like kind of like having higher expectations, right? So like quick to judge, right? And so we're like literally just getting into it. And I'm just kind of like doodling my thing. Normally, what I do as I like warm up, I just play like literally random stuff, and then eventually like something just comes through, and I kind of start playing. I improvise a lot, and so she's sitting there like frozen, right? And I see that, and I'm like, yeah, just I'm telling her this. Like I say it this way, just put your hands on the keyboard, just like hit some things, right? And it's like a 30-minute back and forth, and she's like, I'm trying, but she's trying. She's saying like, I'm feeling emotionally stuck, and I understand because it's hard. Like if you're gonna ask me like, Ryan, sing right now, I would. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. Right? I'd feel that same frozen, stuck feeling too. But she's sitting there, and she's like, Ryan, you don't understand. I'm stuck. I'm frozen. I'm working through it. I'm doing a good job working through it, but you're kind of getting in the way. And I was like, yeah, little naggy from her perspective because I'm like, I wanted her to understand, like, I get it. Like, I understand that this is hard. And all I'm asking her to do really is just like feel the instrument, connect to it, right? Like, just get your fingers on. You don't need to do anything. You could hit random stuff. Like, just like connect to it, right? Because I noticed like across time, she'd like try to think her way into music, right? Like, oh, think about the just right thing, and then boom, music pops out, right? And so I'm like, okay, no, just connect. Eventually, we go through this whole like back and forth communication wise, and I had to reassure her. I had to explain, I had to articulate exactly what she was telling me, right? Because she was stuck on me. She didn't think I understood. So I had to say, here's what you're feeling. You're feeling stuck. You're feeling like a little anxious. You're feeling this. You're feeling that, and you have expect. So anyway, so I go through and I explain that to her, and she's like, "Oh yeah, you do understand me." And I'm saying, "All right, now what I want you to do is just dive in. Just get your hands on the keyboard. Like, literally touch the keyboard and start just messing around, right?" And then she like starts and she's just doodling. Then she's like eventually again, she gets it. She just is playing now like a kid. Like if a kid approached a piano for the first time, they just like, well, I'm gonna hit all these random things. And that's all I wanted her to do. And eventually she does it, and then she's like, then her fingers are warming up and she's connecting to the piano, and then all of a sudden like beautiful music is like popping out of it. And it was kind of like a nice moment because I think that we are all that in front of piano for everything. And we're just like, I just want to know what do I do? I want to know exactly what to play. And boom, then it happens and it's beautiful and it's like acceptable by our standard and everyone else's standard. But yeah, what we actually need to do is we need to just touch the piano. We just need to like do the thing, just get connected to it. It doesn't mean anything. It's like not that serious. And whether that's like going to the gym and you're like feeling like really anxious, like I don't know what the machines do. I don't know like who's gonna judge me. I don't get any of it. Okay, just get to the gym and play around. Like as if you're a kid. So you're 3 years old in a gym. What are you gonna do? Hopefully not be unsupervised, but maybe you're gonna do some curls, maybe you're gonna go on a machine and push some things, right? Like that to me I think is very helpful for someone.
Did you guys discuss or talk about how she felt after?
Yeah,
How'd
yeah.
you
We
feel?
were having like we actually like we communicate super well. So like that whole like back and forth communication. It wasn't super emotional, but it was like I was like, how do I explain this the right? How do I articulate the right thing? And she's thinking, how do I articulate the right thing? And it was like it was a collaborative problem to like solve essentially like communication thing. And then eventually once we kind of like once I've been working on this thing for me. This is a little off topic, but I feel that I understand people pretty well, but I never let them know that I do, right? You're telling me about a problem and you're articulating it, and I'm like I'm on it, right? Like I feel like I'm on it. I'm an internal processor, so I'm in it, and and then you're looking for me to say, oh, I see, you're struggling with this and you're feeling this and you're feeling that. I'm already 10 steps down the line trying to have a conversation way down here, but I need to show people I understand them. And that was, you know, that was what I learned. She learned about like touching the piano like a little kid, and I learned, okay, I have to show them that I understand, verbally. I can't understand it up here and not verbally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, nice. Sounds
Yeah.
like a great experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. It was
And
good.
did you have fun?
Yeah, of course. I love music. Music's great.
I love this.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. You kind of hit the nail right on the head. You did the same thing, right? Like jump in, right? Jump in, learn, just touch it.
Mm-hmm.
And you said an interesting word in there, and I know we're kind of running this podcast long, but like, if a kid was jumped up to the piano with, let's think about that for a second, right? Like, they don't have this super layered ego yet. They don't have this super identity that they can't mess up.
They don't even know what music like should sound like.
And then take that, like, so as I think about this experience, right? Like, think about the kid that's like doesn't want to do soccer. Maybe like 5 years later, maybe the 10-year-old, 12-year-old that doesn't want to do soccer because they aren't as good as their friends. They already know. They've been on the recess field with them, and they're like, no, I don't want to do it. It's like, that's what we are dealing with now as adults, constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And not to say I don't have kids, so I'm not parenting, but like, how many times did the parent be like, okay, honey, yeah, you're right, you don't have to do that, right? And disguise it as, well, you don't like it. But you're good as a 10-year-old, be like, Mom, I just don't like it. Well, why don't you like it? Well, deep down, it's because I know I'm not good at it. But you have to pick and choose your battles, and of course, and you're always molding and shaping your identity and your ego and your thing. But like, ultimately, like, think about it from a kid's perspective. That's what you're doing. And now we've layered it on top and layered it on top. And for me individually, I can tell you, like, okay, well, at some point I decided I'm a good public speaker. So I've layered on top this layer and layer and layer. And now my identity is I'm identifying as a good public speaker. And then I do this thing where I get feedback that's like, all right, you didn't connect with the audience. You butchered something. I think you swore in the middle, like all these things. And now I have to go back to myself and be like, huh. Deep down at the down in here somewhere, I'm like, that feels terrible. So what do? I either understand and develop better, or I cope incorrectly by drinking alcohol or doing something that's completely avoiding it, or I completely change directions and be like, I'm not good at this anymore. I'm going to just go a different direction, right? These are options that I've tried, all of them, and we all have. But fundamentally, when I get to that feeling, that's resistance.
Mm.
That's the stuck feeling that she's feeling. That's the challenge that you have. That's the challenge that I have. And I don't know if we've given anybody hope. Maybe we've given examples, and maybe we've given verbiage. Maybe we've said words that make sense for people. But I hope for the audience listening that they got something out of today around, maybe even if it's just that you're not alone.
Right.
Maybe it's just that you're not alone. You are very normal. It doesn't mean you have a big ego and all the stuff that we've associated the word ego with. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It means that you have resistance in your life and inherently know that there's something in there that you want to work on. And that's what our audience is. These are the people that find us and like to listen to us. So I'll give you guys opportunity to close it up, give us some remarks, some thoughts, and then we'll say goodbye for the day.
I think I'll close it with we suffer more in our imagination than in reality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? Yeah, and I think you kind of summed it up well there. So I'm not gonna monologue it out, but I think what's been helpful for me, even as in music or jujitsu, whatever, is I don't want to be childish, but I do want to become like a child in a lot of ways, because they're the ones that just hop in and do it. They just do it. They don't have expectations. They do what feels right. They don't do what they think they should, right? Based on flawed knowledge or too much knowledge, for that matter.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you guys for listening today. D, thanks for coming back.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
I hope you let's keep doing this. I enjoy this. Enjoy
Yeah,
your company
likewise.
and your perspectives. We look forward to catching you guys all. D, just throw your Instagram handle out there.
Yep,
Go
just
ahead.
Dylan Kaplinger, Dylan DYLAN.KAPLINGER.
Yeah, give them a follow. Follow, like, share, all those things that we love. And we'll talk very soon. Thanks.